So there's several.
Cakery won that recently.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Couldn't agree more.
One of the first ones, yeah.
Wonderful.
And I think Cindy Freeland was one, Entrepreneur of the Year, the Secretary of Services.
That's right, yeah.
Cindy Freeland just won it, and no more deserving person than Cindy. She's
sure works.
That's right. You know, that's a good point you brought up. I never thought of, well, I miss the old method too, for including all the citizens of Bowie, Public Person Award, including the Business of the Year and so on. But I did attend a luncheon last year. I missed one, I think this year you had for this event. That's well attended for the business recognition.
It is, and we usually have a nice speaker to come in. Peter Francho's come in, pardon me, a couple times, and has done a wonderful. Peter Francho.
Who's he?
He's our. Gosh, you really put me on the spot, John. He's the.
I can't remember.
Financial.
Secretary of Treasury.
Thank you, Secretary of Treasury.
Is that what it is?
Of the state of Maryland. Yeah.
Yeah, he was there at the time. Now, that's a good idea. But if you continued this plan, would you take that out to do the citizenship award?
I'm going to tell you something. The board, if I may speak for the former board before you were on there, when I left the Bowie Blade News 2.5 years ago, they were approached. I was told they were approached and said, "No, it cost us too much money. You know, take up too much time." Well, I thought that attitude was a little bit off, but it won't cost a lot of money because let me tell you, we got sponsors for every single award.
Yep.
We got sponsors for the food. The food was donated to us by catering services. It didn't cost that much at all. It took a little bit of work, you know. Betsy Burien and the lady that used to run the Free State Mall, which is where we had it.
Yeah.
Barbara Wally.
Barbara Wally.
Barbara Wally. They worked their body parts off.
They did.
And it did not cost us very much money at all. It can be done very cheaply. There are people eager to sponsor it, and I still, to this day, hear comments about it.
I do too, and I think it's a good idea, I think, John, and if you talk to your board members about it at your retreat or whatever. The difference is anything you can illuminate the value of the chamber, not only to business people, but to the community. And this is the key to the success, I think, of small chambers, because the big chambers are suffering a great deal.
Oh, yeah.
And it's harder for them to, in spite of the best effort of Prince George's County, they fluctuate from the 1,200 members to 700 members, and all of a sudden, it's always floating. Now, retention is a very key thing, of course, in what you'll be recognizing now. It's always been the most important thing for our chamber in Bowie, is retention of members, and you've had some economic changes that influence the retention, we understand that. But there's a lot of opportunity to let the community know we're not only recognizing business people, but citizens in the community.
Yeah.
And I do believe that's a big key issue, John, to support.
See, I got my lobbying then.
I can see that, my gosh.
And a lot of people think that the Bowie is just interested in business. And
oh, no, it's not. It never has been.
No, but there have been some politicians that thought that if there's a road to be widened, it's in the chamber's best interest to agree with the highway that it's to be widened, although it might be bad for the citizen. All of that mood is wrong, and you got to question it when they bring it up.
Well, any effort that brings together our very diverse community, getting more and more diverse by the day, bigger and bigger by the day, brings the people together. It can't help but improve the image of the chamber. It can't help but enhance the quality of life in this community.
Well, and obviously, the quality of life in this community is a big interest with any chamber, local chamber.
Absolutely. It's a selling point for you.
Oh, it sure is. Yes. But you know, going into one of the things that you mentioned, I mean, we have active members that are not only business owners or business people within the city, but they're also members of the city itself.
Yeah.
You know, Kathy Woods, I mentioned, Benji Woolery, Art Widman. I mean, these are all people who have a very active lifestyle in terms of their own community and their own business.
Yeah, well, oh no, I'm sorry, you moved out of town.
Again, John, I appreciate the setup. This is really good.
You did it there. You know, another thing I wanted to mention, the things you do to service your members are all the committees, and your members can participate on the committees. And this has helped, well, I think, in retention because they feel a part of things, even though they may not serve on the board. Some of your committee people may not.
By the way, can I
Some do.
note, weren't you once president of the Chamber of Commerce?
The first full-time president, matter of fact.
Okay.
Our first president served 6 months.
1984, is that when you were president?
I think so. You remember. And then,
Remember it, I was one of the founders.
That's right. John was a charter member, charter board member, and he was vice president.
Was I vice president?
Yeah.
John's one of the ones that voted you in, I guess.
Oh,
I didn't vote for him.
Absolutely. It was a unanimous vote to begin with. But having
John
to serve,
just happened to be absent that day.
yeah, he was the biggest problem I had back then.
I can imagine. He's tough.
But serving that full half-year term of the Fred McKee was our first president. He served 6 months. Then serving the next year. And I have an attitude about that. It's a strong feeling that, quite frankly, if you have organizations that have a president a year in and year out, you aren't developing your leadership. And we started that at the beginning. I was asked to run again as for president of the Chamber of Members. But I felt that way. I still feel that way. And I think this is why that many organizations have died, because once you start repeating the president and asking the same prayer, whether it's Kiwanis Club or Lions Club or whatever,
well, those sort of
you're not
organizations
developing
have disappeared. Are there any left?
Well, I still think like the Bowie Lions is
Are they still
a
around
strong
down
organization.
in that old Bowie building?
They sure are. But I disagree with you. I think that one of the things that you talk about leadership, one of the things that you try to get started is leadership within the chamber. You're asked to be a leader basically for a year, which just in the last 10 years I've really been paying attention to what people say as they leave the presidency is how fast it went and how they felt like they just got their feet wet before they started understanding what the process was and what they might be able to do to help it. So one thing that I would mention is that if it was a voluntary position where you would say, we have somebody who's ready to step in, but if you would like to extend your term, we could certainly talk to the board.
I think that's a good idea.
That's your privilege. However, the president-elect position has prepared you well. I understand and know that you worked well close with the president, Brian Shallcross. We had you on with him when he was introduced. So that is part of the process of why those positions were set up like that. Now, as far as you disagreeing with me about my personal preference that having the same president year in and year out, and a lot of that happens, maybe it's good or maybe it's bad, but you might have some there. Your second term might even be better because you're getting your feet wet the first
Yeah, but
term.
it would be up to the board to invite this person to
That's in the
take the
bylaws.
second term.
It's
right?
in the bylaws too, I thought. But you've got to drop out. Like on the board, you can serve a certain amount of time.
As far as
before you
limitation.
drop out, and then you can come back.
Right.
But that's not a bad idea, quite
Yeah,
frankly.
I think so.
You get a lot of things going, and then you want to see them through.
And I think it would help towards continuity. Excuse me. I think it would help towards continuity.
Yeah, I have some there.
And the difficulty is finding those people who are not only interested in being serving as president, but forward enough thinking that that they have a plan, that they are ready to move into. And we've been very fortunate to have strong presidents. And we're going to have years of having strong presidents afterwards, but giving them the opportunity, I think, is nothing but good for the board.
Sure, and you've got a lineup there. Who's your president-elect this year?
Len Lucci.
Okay.
Well, he'll certainly be active.
Yes, yeah. And,
well, he's so well known. That'll be helpful.
Can I just veer off before our time runs out on veer out of the intricacies of the chamber itself and get your views on what is the future of the economy in Bowie? What do you see happening? Do you have a feel for it?
You know, I think that the biggest thing that we could do is to try to find some way of, and this has been a problem for years. You know, the marketplace.
Oh gosh.
You know, there's obviously a weak demand right now for mall space.